Hey, welcome back to 712. Today I'm going to tell you how I saved my first $100,000 working in construction, the steps I took, the mistakes I made, and what I learned along the way. Everybody wants to know how to make $100,000, but the real question is, once you make that money, how are you going to keep it? Because I've worked with guys in construction making anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 a year, and somehow they're still broke. And also, I worked with guys making way less money than that, but they have good savings, investment, retirement accounts, and investment properties. So I started asking myself, how can I become more like the guy who make less but keep more money? When I started, the goal wasn't to save $100,000. Honestly, my first goal was just to save $10,000. That's all I wanted to save. But let me take you back to where everything started. In 2018, I got my first job. I was making around 35 an hour, sometimes closer to 40, and I was working a lot of hours. At one point, I was working 84 hours a week. For me, that was more money than I had ever made before. I was working on an island making close to 4,000 some weeks, and I felt like I was living the dream. But as fast as the money came, I spent it all. Partying, drinking, and buying things that I didn't need. I wasn't thinking about investing. I wasn't thinking about retirement. I was just enjoying the money because I had never made that kind of money before. Then one day I asked myself, what is the point of working all these hours, I'm making all this money, if I'm not keeping any of it? I get paid on Thursday and gone on Friday. That's when I decided that I needed a plan. The first thing I did was start moving $250 into my savings account every single week. It didn't matter how much I made that week. That $250 was going to my savings before I did anything else with my money. I did that religiously every week, $250. After a few months, I received a raise, but instead of raising my lifestyle and spending more money, I raised the amount of money I was saving. I went from saving $250 a week to $500 a week. Later, that $500 became $750. Eventually, I was saving as much as $1,000 every week. That's when I seen everything change. I still remember the first time I saw $10,000 sitting in my savings account. I couldn't even believe it. I was extremely proud of myself because I'd never saved that much money before. The first $10,000 changed something in my mind. Once I saw that balance growing, I didn't want to stop. I wanted to see how far I could take it. At the same time, I had a 401k through my company. And since I was working a lot of hours, I was also paying a lot of money in taxes. So I started thinking, instead of giving all that money to Uncle Sam, why not increase my 401k contribution and put more of that money towards my 401k and my future? So that's what I did. I increased and started saving more. Anyways, I continued saving cash every week while also increasing the amount going into my retirement account. I think it was like 14% every week. Then 2020 came and we all know what happened with COVID. During that time, I wanted to learn more about investing, stocks, and how money actually works. I started reading books, watching YouTube videos, listening to Dan Ramsey, and learning from different investment programs. I was really hooked on savings. But I also made mistakes. At one point, I thought I could become a stock trader. One year, I made around $17,000 trading. The following year, another $15,000. And then the third year, I lost $10,000. And that's when I said, you know what? I can't continue to do this if I want to save and grow my money. That's when I realized that trading wasn't for me. I didn't want to stop gambling with money that had taken me years of hard work to save. So I decided to focus more on long-term investing. I opened a Roth IRA, started buying stocks, and began learning about index funds and companies I believed in for the long term. While I was learning how to invest, I continued moving money into my savings account every week, again, no matter what. And that was probably the biggest reason I reached $100,000 in 3.5 years. And I can tell you that it wasn't one big investment. It was the habit of saving money every single week, no matter what was happening. If I had a bad week, I didn't touch the savings. If my checking account got low and I had $20,000 in my savings account, I still didn't touch my savings. I just practically waited till the following week till I got paid to get more money. You see, you have to develop that mindset because nobody's going to force you to save. You have to make that decision that once the money goes into that account, it stays there unless it is a real emergency. So after about 3.5 years, I reached my first $100,000. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I did everything perfectly, because I didn't. Working construction and being away from home will test you mentally and physically. Believe me when I tell you that. You work long hours, you miss your family, And sometimes you start believing that because you work hard, you deserve to buy something. You deserve to buy expensive things or toys just because of the way you feel. Let me tell you about that one time I bought a car. It cost me $56,000. I really didn't need it because I had 3 other cars at the house. At the time, I felt like I deserved it. I was working hard, making good money, and I wanted to treat myself. But after about 6 months, I realized I'd probably driven that car less than 10 times because I was working out of town. That made me think about what would have happened if I had invested that money into the S&P 500 instead of buying that car. That money could have continued to grow instead of sitting in a car that I was losing value. I'm not saying you should never buy anything nice. I'm saying you need to understand the difference between buying something because you truly want it and buying something because you're tired, lonely, and trying to reward yourself for working so much. That was one of my biggest mistakes I made during the process. Saving my first $100,000 wasn't easy. I struggled, I made mistakes, and there were plenty of times when I wanted to spend the money. But the system was simple. I saved money every week, increased the amount whenever I earned more, contributed to my 401k, and eventually started investing for the long term. You don't have to start by saving $250 a week if you don't have it. I know it's hard. I know how hard it is. You can start with $5, $10, $15, $20, $100, whatever you have. The amount isn't the most important part in the beginning. The important part is creating a habit. Once you become used to that money automatically leaving your checking account, you stop depending on it. And then, as your income increases or your debt goes down, you can raise the amount every week, whether it's $5, $20, $200, whatever it is that you want to raise. That's how you build a real foundation. And this message is especially for my blue-collar workers. We know how to work hard, we know how to make money, but a lot of us were never taught how to save and invest. What matters is what you do with the money after you earn it every Friday. I don't want you to think that I'm trying to brag, but the first $100,000 I saved didn't just stay at $100,000. I eventually invested that money and it continued to grow to this day. Some of you might ask me that if you save $100K, why didn't you buy properties and things like that? We all know how real estate is right now, and that wasn't my main concern. My main concern was to grow my money, put it in the stock market, and save. That was my main concern at that moment. The main point is you have to start somewhere. You don't need a perfect strategy. You don't need to understand anything about investing on your own or your first day. Protect that money, learn as you go, and increase the amount whenever you can. That's the whole plan. If I was able to do it working construction, making mistakes along the way, you can do it too. Trust me, I know you can do it. All you got to do is just start. That's all you have to do. Now, if you found this video valuable, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to continue making videos about money, construction, and the blue-collar lifestyle so we can learn how to make our money work as hard as we do. I'm out.